Hello everyone, my name is Liu Jiatong. I'm from China. I'm a student of the UM. And the following year, I will proceed a presentation to introduce the Sino-US trade war. Okay. Let me see the first page. Okay, Chinese-US trade war. At the beginning, on March 22 local time, U.S. President Trump sent a presidential memorandum according to the 3-1 investigation results will impose large-scale tariffs on the Chinese imports of goods and restrict Chinese enterprises to United States investment and acquisition. Trump claimed that the scale of Chinese goods involving taxation amount to the U.S. 60 billion. The Chinese government's attitude toward the Trump administration's actions is to hope that no trade war will break out. But if the U.S. government does, China will neither fear nor hide, but is prepared. And due to the results of trade war, China's chip industry was crushed by the United States. The 90% of smartphones and computer chips rely on imports. The output value of the integrated circuits is less than 7% of the world. The annual cost of chip imports is 2 times that of the imported crude oil. And according to the options of the several imports in the report, China can have 3 tragedies. The retaliatory tariffs on some U.S. goods were imposed. On March 23, the Chinese Ministry of Commerce immediately counterattacked by issuing a list of suspended concessions of U.S. steel and aluminum imports and soliciting public options to impose tariffs on some U.S. imports. By influencing the international supply chain, the manufacturing industry in United States will be affected. If the conflict is ugly, China has another killer, which is to sell hundreds of billions of dollars of U.S. Treasury bonds. So I have a question. Why the U.S. tricks China? There are 3 fundamental reasons for Sino-U.S. trade war. The first is the long-term trade imbalance. One country is a big consumer country and one country is a big manufacturing country, which fundamentally determines the long-term trade imbalance between the 2 countries. The second is to delay the development of Made in China 2025 plan. The third is that the dollar, as the world's currency of circulation, imposes stamp duty on the world, uses its financial supremacy to share wool from countries around the world. So the next part, I will analyze factors affecting trade war with the economic theory. The first factor affecting Sino-U.S. trade relations is the U.S. trade deficit with China. The second problem is the issue of RMB exchange rate. Against the backdrop of the growing trade deficit between China and the United States, some Americans blame the low value of the RMB. Since the devaluation of the U.S. dollar, U.S. exports has gained a tremendous exchange rate advantages in U.S. and Japan, with the exception of China, which is pegged to the U.S. dollar. Instead of weakening the competitiveness of the exports because of the depreciation of dollar, China enjoys more export advantages with the depreciation of the dollar. So some of U.S. congressmen intend to elevate the trade deficit by forcing China to exchange its exchange rate policy and revalue the RMB. The third is the U.S. anti-dumping investigation on Chinese commodities. First, there is a pressure from domestic manufacturing industries and trade unions to impose restrictions on Chinese products on the U.S. government. With the upgrading of American industry and the transfer of the manufacturing industry, many American workers are facing the danger of the employment because the low value-added manufacturers proceeded in the United States at high wages are not competitive compared with the cheap labor that the developing countries are constantly supplying. I have a question. Is it wise for the U.S. to adopt a trade? I think the answer is exactly no, because Made in China has penetrated into the lives of the China people. If the exchange rate of the RMB is increased by 30%, the living cost of the American people will be increased by 30%. China's goods are not only cheap but also have the advantages of good quality. The United States has a huge demand of China goods. It is difficult to find a substitute for Chinese goods from other countries at once. In other words, there may be bottlenecks in supply of substitutes, resulting in the turbulence in the domestic market. Relatively high labor costs made the U.S. labor cost competition in globalization less dominant. As a result, these jobs automatically move from high labor costs to lower costs, such as from China to Mexico or Brazil. And one of the more serious consequences of doing so is that the United States has violated previous commitments made at a G20 summit to avoid protectionism and has lost credibility among WTO members. So we can get the conclusion: trade war will undoubtedly bring great harm to the both sides of the overall atmosphere of cooperation between the two countries, and even endanger the entire world economy. The United States should adopt a way of dealing with trade issues with China through dialogue and cooperation. Both sides can work together to strengthen cooperation and strive for a more ideal outcome in this regard. This will bring positive and useful information to bilateral relations and enable us to work together to cope with serious similar complexities in the U.S.-China economic and trade relationships. That's all. Thanks. Bye bye. Thanks all.